Testing, testing. Hopefully my sound's working. Testing, testing, testing. 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 I don't think the sound is working. Should be, though. Oh, good. Thank you. Wasn't sure. I'm not getting any bars moving across the lower part of the screen. And you can see me just fine, too. We'll start at 3 o'clock. We'll see how many people actually get here. I reminded everybody, and we'll see. Turn off these lights in the back. To the last minute here, because I'm at the studio today in the shop. And I'm working on a slot car master for a new kit I'm going to put out. Hey, Travis. And Patrick Vickers. Hello. We still have a few more minutes. We'll see how many more people we get, and then we'll start at 3. Yeah, long time no see, Travis. But if you follow my my website, in fact, if you just click on the follow button, then you'll get a notification every time I post new stories there, new pictures, latest projects. Often I'll write stories about my career, what it was like to work with certain actors and actresses and directors and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, I am. He's truly amazing. Bill Shatner. My memories of Bill, it was really interesting because I worked on Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which was a big thrill in my career. People often ask me, wasn't Ghostbusters the most thrilling thing you ever did? And I say, no, it was Star Trek and doing Mr. Spock's ears. But Bill was really nice to me. I had just started production of a movie called The Day Time Ended. Hate that title. It was originally called Vortex. And I cast Marcy Lafferty in one of the roles. That turned out to be Shatner's wife. So this put me in good graces with him when I first started working with Fred Phillips at the Paramount backlot. So, and he was very, very, very nice to me. It was a chilling experience to see him, complete uniform and sitting in the makeup chair and making jokes at Leonard Nimoy. But that was a great experience. Five more minutes. Yeah, it does fly. I try not to pay attention to it too much, Travis, because if I pay too much attention to it, I'll be pushing up daisies. I turned 70 on March 5th of next year. And, it was pretty spectacular to turn 60. And you kind of can't believe it, but you really can't believe 70. I imagine 80 is going to be worse. I plan to get there. I mean, Bill Shatner and a lot of other people are really an inspiration to me. And what Bill did going up in Blue Origin, paying for the ticket himself, and taking a somewhat risky ride really was breathtaking and quite an inspiration. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to afford a ride like that by the time I'm 90. And what's the lady's name from Happy Days? Played the mom. She's 94. You should see her. She's terrific. So we're living longer. Three more minutes. And then there'll be stragglers, maybe. But it takes people time to be aware that I'm doing this. So I can't expect a bunch of people the first time. I have to keep doing it. Eventually it'll pick up. And I'm hoping we get some of the slot car crowd in here too, and some of the submarine crowd in here, because I do so many different hobbies. That would be fun too. And we can cover a variety of subjects. So, but on this one, we're supposed to talk about my career. My watch is wrong by 2 minutes. It's funny too, because about 40 minutes ago, I hit everything, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, the different forums and stuff. But people forget. I do that. I don't set alarms on my iPhone. I probably wouldn't be here myself. But it reminded me. I had to stop what I was doing when I was working on a project in the back. So 2:59. Well, that's close enough to 3 o'clock. If you have questions about my long career, I'll talk about it. You know, I started like around 1970. I got out of high school, and by that point, I had seen the movie 2001, which had a great influence on my life, and gave me the desire to be involved in filmmaking, which I was doing a lot of after I got out of high school. In fact, I went to work at the American Zoetrope there with Francis Coppola and George Lucas. And I did a lot of work there, made some of my own films, but somewhere along the line, I ran into, while I was going to college, a guy there that was doing masks on his own. And I went to his place and he showed me how he had a life mask and he sculpted in clay and made molds and made appliances just out of slip rubber latex. I mean, of course, being a Planet of the Apes fan, since I saw the film, I really wanted to do a Planet of the Apes makeup, which I did. I did not like the slip rubber appliances. I wanted the foam rubber stuff that they had, and I couldn't find anything about it except some books I got from New York and watching the making of Planet of the Apes. I saw them casting foam rubber into molds, and so I did a bunch of research and found out about that and ordered some foam rubber and sculpted my first set of appliances and made the molds the way they did. And that kind of started my whole career, because that character doing Planet of the Apes just took off. And I started getting invited to conventions and coming to LA a bunch and meeting people. And eventually I started doing Spock ears. I met I met Majel Barrett, who asked me to change the name from Spock ears to pointed ears because of her company, but she had no problem with me making them. Then I met Gene at the conventions, and this all eventually led to my working on Star Trek. So that's the short story about how my career got started. So, and of course, while I was doing makeup effects, I was doing miniatures and other types of work for film, and later on CGI, making my own films. Also, of course, The Daytime Ended was a film I wrote and produced. And that's the short story. I've been down here in Southern California ever since. But I escaped from LA, not the movie. I really did. So if anybody has some questions, now would be the time. Of course, I worked on laser blasts. And I don't know if any of you saw the laser blast figure I've been working on. This one, the one I just sent out, number one, was shipped out the other day. And on this arm is where the gun goes. And I'm having some more guns printed next week. So this is mine. And it's standing on the film can that was actually part of the gun. I have the actual gun, at least a replica, behind me, which is kind of big and heavy to bring over here. But if you want me to, I will. Hey, Steve. So, of course, then I have this stinky thing sitting, stinky because for some reason there was some resin, epoxy resin, that never quite cured. It finally did, but it just has this horrendous smell. This is the Crater Lake Monster, which was like the first film I ever did. This was before Star Trek. Rick Baker and I were friends. We lived really close together. And hey, Warren, we lived really close together, and we were always hanging out together. And he wanted to give me some work because he liked my work. And he said to me, he says, well, I got this friend named William Strongberg. And of course, some of you may know the name. He one of the films, of course, he did was the Crater Lake Monster. His son is now a big-time director, and well, Bill did. He directed and did all kinds of stuff. He was a really great guy. But we did this movie, and I had to, working with Dave Allen, I needed to build the head, and so Dave had started sculpting the stop-motion figure that eventually be animated in the film. And he gave me an alginate cast off the head and sent that home with me. And V. Neill and I were just starting to live together in our apartment in Toluca Lake. We had this small kitchen, which I turned into a makeup lab, and I sculpted this enormous head on the kitchen floor, and then made an enormous mold and couldn't get it out of the building. So he had to kind of trash the window, get it out the window, and put it in the back part of there's like an alley behind us, and that's where I cast latex and made a huge giant head that, of course, later was used in History of the World. And so when I made this to sort of replicate what I had done from here up for the film, and I was actually up inside of it, swimming in the water with this thing. And so this is another one of the items that I offer on my website. Slowly but surely, I'm doing figures and masks and things that are from my career or things that influenced my career. They've been doing pretty well. People have been buying them and enjoying them, and I'm enjoying them getting these things because they're all, most of the stuff I've made is stuff I wanted myself, like the stuff from Outer Limits. You can see back there's a whole bunch of masks back there. These are all the masks that we're selling, everything from the chameleon to the galaxy being, and those Outer Limits and Star Trek had a big influence on my career choices. So whatever happened to my favorite Uncle spaceship? Oh, did Doug finish it? We pretty well did finish it, but he wanted to paint it, and so he took it back. He pretty much finished it and painted it, and it's sitting in his garage, just like the real thing. I mean, Doug just likes having the spaceship in his garage the way Martin did, because really, when we were watching that show as kids, we all wanted to have that spaceship in our garage, and Doug actually did it. So, good evening, JGG1701. Do I know your name? And Painful, I do recognize you. Hey there. Can I tell you about working with Oliver Reed? Well, okay, I worked on with Oliver Reed on a movie directed by Charles Griffith. Now, Charles Griffith directed the original Little Shop of Horrors. And I forget. Oh, no, I don't forget how I got this job. I get this phone call one day, and some of you will, Rosie's great. It's her birthday today. She's sitting right here. Some of you will remember a very famous makeup artist, very talented one named Rob Bottin. And Rob called me up one day and said, Steve, I got a job for you I can't do. And I said, well, what? He says, well, you got to work with Oliver Reed. And it's not going to be easy, but I know you can do it. I said, okay, that sounds interesting. He says, I'm going to give you all the information. So I contacted Charles Griffith and talked to him, went down there, we interviewed, and I got the job. And then they gave me some designs that they wanted. And of course, we had to do a life mask. So we went over to Oliver Reed's apartment he was renting at the time. I remember Carol Lindley came over and all these famous people to visit him because he had a lot of friends. He was charming, gracious. He helped me make the life mask. And that went all very well. And I thought, wow, this guy's really neat. You know, he's not going to be a problem at all. He's very professional. So make a long story short, I did all the prosthetics. My friend Mark Siegel, who also worked on Star Trek The Motion Picture with me and helped develop the Klingons along with Rick Stratton, worked on it because I had a very short schedule and I needed to have a lot of prosthetics for makeup. And so we did them in polyurethane foam. In fact, the Klingons in the first Star Trek movie were done with polyurethane foam for the same reasons. We had no time to make rubber. And Mark Siegel was very good at working with this new 275 BJB polyfoam, and it worked very well. Very good skin on it and everything. So But in working with Reed, it was brutal to schedule because I had to do a 4-hour makeup on him every day. But he was incredible. He was a consummate professional, and all through the day, even starting at 2 o'clock, and I was told this by the production, I had to drink with him. He liked Stolznaya and orange juice. So at first, I was finding it kind of difficult, but luckily his makeup was already done. It's 2 o'clock. I just had to maintain it. But after a while, I started just giving myself an orange juice, and until one day he grabbed it. He said, "Steve, let me see that." Tugs it out of my hand. He smells it. He walks over, grabs the vodka, and just pours it in there. So we had a lot of fun, and then we partied every night, especially on my birthday, and that was probably one of the most. That was my 31st, no, 28th birthday. And by now he had rented a penthouse at the L'Hermitage, very ritzy place. And he wanted to go there for my birthday. After I removed all the makeup from him, he wouldn't let me go home. I was exhausted. No, we're going to go out and party. We're going to paint the town red and all this stuff. So myself and Karen Kubek, who was the makeup artist, the straight makeup artist on the show, went with me. And we weren't dressed for the L'Hermitage. You're supposed to have a suit and tie. I get makeup on me and all this garbage. And we're going up in the elevator. And I said, they're never going to let us in. He says, I'll handle it. And there's this guy in the elevator with us. And he's looking Oliver Reed up and down. He says, "You're Oliver Reed." "Yes, I am. Very nice to meet you." And he looks the guy up and down. He says, "I need a clean shirt. Can I buy your shirt?" He says, well, he pulls out a $100 bill like that. And the guy says, "Yeah, sure." And he gives him the shirt. And Oliver Reed gets him his shirt. And he goes running out of the elevator. And we go over there to get into the L'Hermitage, and they wouldn't let me in. And they wouldn't let Karen in. And I don't think they wanted to let Oliver Reed in either. They didn't really know who he was until he started pulling out $100 bills. And he pulled out several of these $100 bills to the guy caved. He went inside for a minute, came back in. I think they gave me a tie to put around my neck. I forget what. But we went in, and we had this dinner and many, many drinks. And Karen's just about, her face is about to go face down into her food. She's so drunk. And we're sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I look over, and I see Gene Hackman. And he kind of looks at me like I was familiar to him, and I should be because I had lunch on the set of The Conversation with Francis Coppola, who Francis and I were friends, long story. And Gene Hackman came over, and we sat, and I was eating lunch, and I talked to Gene Hackman. So he did remember me, but what he was terrified of, I could tell, was the fact that Oliver Reed. And I said to Oliver Reed, I said, "Isn't that Gene Hackman over there?" And he says, "Yes, he is." And he runs over and he drags the poor guy to our table. And he talked for a while and stuff. And we ended up at the end of the evening in his penthouse. And we had some more drinks. And I'm doing well because I was quite the party animal in those days. And I could really hold my booze. In fact, he did not drink me under the table. He wanted to show me some boxing because he loves to brawl. And so we did some of that. And then he caught me real hard in my arm, me down on the ground. He immediately turned soft and says, Steve, are you okay? Oh my God. And he bent over to me. I'm laying there. I go, I'm okay. And then I punched him back really hard. And he laughed. He just thought that was the greatest thing. He says, "I like you." And so he gave me another drink. And I went and sat on the couch. And then he disappeared. I didn't know where he was. And I'm thinking, I'm supposed to watch this guy. It's kind of like My Favorite Year. They wanted me to keep an eye on him, not just do his makeup. And suddenly he comes in. He's all invigorated. And I feel so awake. I need another drink. He said, "Look at my hands." There's these marks on his hands. Well, we're at the top floor of L'Hermitage. He went over the banister and hung off of it. Yeah. And then pulled himself back up and came back in. Karen had passed out completely. I tried to sober up a bit. And finally, he says, "I'll never do it. I can't drink you under the table." And I said, "Well, I'm Russian like you." I said, half my family is Russian, just like yours. And I said, the Russians can hold their booze, I guess. So I went home. I don't remember much of it, my little sports car. And next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, how did I get home? And I ran out to check my car. Car was fine, all that stuff. I ran down there to the honey wagon and I walk in and he looks at me. He starts going, pointing at my eye. And I hadn't looked at myself. I looked in the mirror, I had a black eye. So there's a lot of other stories. Him helping little old ladies across the street and everything. But I got to tell you, all through the shoot, he would check his makeup and he'd say, Steve, is that little edge there coming up? You might want to fix that. He was so polite and easy to work with, despite all the stories you have heard about him. They had to be wrong. So, because I just didn't experience any of that. He was a great guy, and I really appreciated working with him. So, what did I miss? If somebody, you talked on occasion, it's been a while, been asking for one of those huge enterprises. Yeah, right. Okay. I occasionally get asked to build more of these. I still have the molds. Amazingly, the silicone is still in good condition, and that's just speaks volumes about 1065 silicone. No, Warren, I really don't want to build another one of those. I mean, that whole thing with Adam Savage was, he told the museum I'd be able to take care of this and build this, but they only gave me like 6-7 weeks to do it. And the first couple of weeks, I had a huge setback. So we can get the camera to work again. Now you can see my airplanes. Okay, there we are. Nope. Yep. Nope. Help! My people are getting seasick. Maybe that'll work. Don't move. Well, it sort of worked. It was a really hard build. And there were some molds for the parts, but most of the stuff was built from scratch. Every single part was styrene because the resin I used to do the big sections, it sagged. It just started sagging. It was terrible. And so, because when the model gets to be this big, you start to run into engineering problems, and there was no internal structure in it to support it. I thought it would work. So I ended up doing most of it out of styrene with a support structure inside, and I had to do it all over again. So it actually got made in about 4.5 weeks, and it was a bear. So the reason I still have it is, even though the museum paid me for it, the exhibit ran for 6 months, and then they sent it back to me without a scratch on it. So that was kind of cool to get that back, because that is they're sort of a drunken shot. It is one of my favorite films. So, as I think you all know, because I have Moonwatcher and the Star Child sitting there too. Oh, Warren, you're welcome. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm on a webcam, so it's not portable, or I'd walk you around and show you more stuff. But again, if you're checking in for the first time, just go to my website, which is Steve Neill's. I think it's what is it? Here, I'll go get it. It's easy enough to do. Steve Neill's art.blog. And I can do this, right? I could go here, and I could go here, and go here, go here. And that will keep you busy for a while. Next time on your phone. Yeah, I guess I can do that on my phone, Mary. So, website, and I write daily on it, so it's kind of like a newspaper about what goes on here, the different projects I'm working on, sometimes reflections on my career, and you never know what I'm going to write. Depends on how I feel, what I'm thinking about when I get up at 5:30 in the morning and go sit in front of the laptop at home. So, is there anything else you'd like to hear about? I worked on a lot of stuff, Fright Night, Ghostbusters. I actually enjoyed talking about the B pictures more because they were a lot of fun, you know, Battle Beyond the Stars, things like that. Ah, you got to see Simon, huh? Wow. Yeah, he's never been out here, and I've never been out there. He's in my movie though, but that's because he sent me video against green screen, and I made him look like he was here. So let me check back through and see if there's anything I'm missing. I know I was asked about Rosie. Rosie's down here chewing her foot. Stop chewing your foot. It's her birthday today. She's a whole 11 years old now. I see I'm getting... how about Q, the winged serpent? Steve asks. No, I wasn't involved in the stop motion. I was in the daytime ended, but not that one. Larry Cohen. Again, Larry Cohen. Yeah, Martians Attacks. Larry Cohen, he was another referral from Rick Baker. Rick didn't really like him, didn't want to. Oh, take care. Checking in. God bless you too. There was a job that was needed, and you betcha. He didn't want to do it. It was called God Told Me To. And this is the first time I dealt with Larry Cohen, and he was a little edgy, but you know, he was fine on the phone. And I went and met him at his big house and up in Coldwater, and he wanted me to do this torso with this opening in the side of the man's abdomen. And so, hey Lou, so I made that for him. That was the first movie I did, and that led to 6 more movies for him. Everything from The Secret Files of J. Edgar Hoover to the stuff. But one of them was Q. Larry and I got to be friends. I found it easy to work with him. He's one of those directors that knows what he wants, and he'll pay for it, and he won't mess you around about money. It pays you on time, and the checks. So that's all I ask for. If he gets a little rude or uptight, having a busy schedule, and people aren't quite living up to what they said they were going to do for him for the money he's paying them, that was their problem. I never had that problem. I gave him what he wanted. If he didn't like it, he would tell me straight out. I would fix it. So on Q, I wasn't terribly involved in that project. I did some blood and guts stuff for the sacrificing, but I also did the Q puppet. And that was a lot of fun to do. Randy Cook did the drawing. I still have the original drawing he gave me to base that off of, which I should probably put on eBay. You know, it's just sitting here collecting dust. But and I made a puppet, and it was made out of, I think it was made out of foam rubber. And I didn't make the egg. That was Dennis who made that. I'm forgetting his last name. He was an amazing guy, really talented man. And I did not puppeteer it even, because that was done in New York or something. I don't remember. Or maybe I did. I mean, I did so much of that. And then right after that, we did the stuff. Or maybe the stuff was first. And there was a lot of work in that. And I was in New York and all that stuff. But it was fun, you know, doing that film. And it's amazing how popular it's been. In fact, a lot of his films. I mean, like Tobe Hooper, you either like their films or you don't. And Larry's films, they're really different, but I enjoy them, and I enjoyed working on them. And he's a real hoot. Larry and I stayed in touch to the bitter end, literally, for him. And he was unaware that I knew he had cancer at the time, because I was told by the family not to say I knew that. We were working together to make a Invaders television, a movie for this big screen. Um, he was working on the script. He had the rights to it. We were talking weekly about it. He was discussing with me about the ship and changing it or not changing it. And I said, don't change it. And he was just plugging along like he was going to beat what he had. And I just went along with it, um, hoping that maybe somehow, some way he'd be saved. And it would have been a lot of fun to have done that film with him, because I would have been involved in the makeup and visual effects and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, Larry passed away, and I miss him. I miss the lunches he would take us to. I miss, calling him up on the phone and have him say, "Oh, it's the famous Steve Neill." I say, "Well, it's a famous Larry Cohen." We'd laugh. But he was an amazing guy. Boy, did he love movie making. That was his passion. That was his love. You mean on that Enterprise build? Hey, Mike. Um, there's no way to go back and remove the music. But what could be done is I could, and this is a lot of work, but once in a while I put one up and narrate over it, describe what's going on. I could do that. But all of those videos are on my Vimeo account in the showcase. Every single one of them, all 48 or 49 of them are there. I was going to do that, Mary. We have a new thing called Buy Me a Coffee. My friend Dave Kennedy, who's sort of a figurehead famous guy in the world of slot racing, does slot car news every Friday, and I live for it because I love it. He's a charismatic, funny guy, and he works in the slot car industry, and it's amazing what's going on with slot cars. I mean, slot cars are not what they were years ago. They look like the real cars in every way, shape, and form. And so, he had this thing, buy a cup of coffee, and so, or buy me a coffee. So I well, cool. So I went there and I bought him a couple coffees. So, and everyone else did too, because we get a lot out of his videos. He puts a lot of work into them, and he teaches us a lot and shows us a lot, and it gets us to spend our money. Like, look at this car that just came out. It's like, oh God, I can't live without that. So luckily slot cars don't cost thousands of dollars. They cost anywhere between $32 and $200, depending on what you get. So most of them on the average are about $50, and they're gorgeous and they really work. Oh, you're having a down day. I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad you're not having one anymore. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Mike. Well, yeah. Oh, Nautilus Time Machine and all those. I don't know where those are. I have so many computers, and one of them went down. It may be on one of the hard drives, but you know what, Warren, those things are pretty long gone. Have I seen the Magnetic Grand Prix Monaco thing they're doing in? Well, I've seen Wonderland in Hamburg. Yes, that's with all the trains and the cities and the planes taking off and everything, right? Because I have seen that. So some of the slot car sets that are being built out there, I think some of you have seen mine. They are amazing. I mean, they are so beautifully done. Rolling hills, city. That's right, Warren. They're just incredible, and they're like always a work in progress. And it's a diorama to end all dioramas, and you can race cars in it, and it's just really a cool thing. It's like model railroading, or building the models we build with dioramas, except the darn things run. Steve, you must know about that. It's a big exhibit. It's just incredible. Look it up on. So I've been having a lot of fun. My hobbies have slowly but surely been attacked by the great Karens out there. Everything from being kicked off lakes with sailboats that don't pollute and don't make noise to being told we can't fly model airplanes anymore practically without all kinds of licenses and regulations. And even if you do get permission to fly at some fields, people will complain about it. And rocketry is having a hard time, same reasons. No one realizes really the value of these hobbies, especially with kids, because it's a gateway to kids getting into careers in aviation and aerospace and railroading and all kinds of stuff like that. But the thing about slot cars is they're indoors, rain or shine, and everything fits in a little suitcase about this big. Well, your tools, several cars, you can go off to a race. There's nobody to tell you can't do that, or that you're polluting the environment, or this is an unnecessary sport. So I think maybe that's why I've been gravitating more towards it lately. They're doing a Monaco race, huh? Oh, isn't it just around the corner from you, Steve? Don't you love it when people do that? Oh, yeah. You're in London, just pop up to Stonehenge. It's a short drive. Well, if I ever get to Germany at all, I want to see that Type 7 that's parked on the coast. I saw a tour of it inside. They've really got it in great condition. And there's a Type 2 U-boat as well. Oh, so you used to build them back in the 60s. Well, so did I. And I did that with the brass tubes and stuff too. And you know what? That has not stopped. If you join one of the slot car forums, and the very best one is Home Racing World on Facebook, you won't believe your eyes. These guys are still doing all that. In fact, I just bought a jig the other day. Remember the jigs? They're porcelain, little holes in it, and put the pins in so you can line up all the brass and solder it just perfect. And in fact, they still make the clear plastic bodies. Remember those? Hi there, the Sci Fantasy Cast. How you doing? Let me go get this car because it'll take you down memory lane. Okay, I'm back. Now, you'll remember these have the brass frames on them, and now they're you can still make them that way. These are actually, I think they're laser cut steel frames. And this is a Porsche, like a 917, but it's not a 917. And this is a 1/24 scale. And of course, the body hasn't been painted yet because I just put it on today and got it to fit. But nothing's really changed except the cars have gotten better and more exciting. And it's a great sport. Our group called the Far Out Slot Car Club is in LA. It's not too far for me to drive. And all these people have huge tracks at their big houses all over dotted LA. And so every 2 weeks they have another race. I get my sports car, I get my cars, I drive there and I race. And it's just so much fun. And everybody in there is on the average in their 60s, some in their 40s, some in their 50s. But there's a lot of us baby boomers who never got over slot cars in the 60s. We still do it. This is the beginnings of a Type 2 U-boat from World War II, which I'm building completely out of styrene because I don't want to make a plug, make a hard fiberglass mold, and make plexiglass hulls, because then people will ask me to make kits, and I really don't want to make kits. Especially, I don't mind doing small slot car kits. This is a Cooper T51 from 1959. It is a Formula One car, and it's kind of hard to see all the detail and everything that's on it. But I've been scribing in all the panel lines and everything. And this will be a resin cast body and brass frame. But this is going to be cool. I have one watertight compartment cylinder left, and I wanted to put it to good use, and I always wanted a Type 2. So this is the center section. The sail would sit up here. Now I got to do all this and all that down there. So it's actually fun doing it this way, because it's kind of like building the submarine the way they were built, except out of styrene instead of metal. I'm just looking at what people, 4 hours by train. Well, might be worth it. I'm getting titles that I recognize, but not the name. Hi, Mobius 303. Well, a space trog I know. But sci-fi and fantasy cast, I don't know. So if you have names, you might want to say, hi, it's so-and-so, because I'll recognize your name. Although Mobius 303, you should make a slot car like the Firebird with the prismatic dash. No, I don't have that. Oh, Mike Perlman. Hi, Mike. No, I don't. I've got the next slot car I'm going to do. I've done 2 formula cars. One is a T73, also a Cooper. I just love the 60s era cars. But the next car I do is going to be a Le Mans car or a GT of some sort, probably also from the my eye on a Alfa Romeo, 1967 Alfa Romeo. Is just such amazing, beautiful eye candy. I'm also doing an art piece of that same car currently. From the RPF days. I'm still over there on occasion. They gave me an account after all that crazy stuff happened over the Enterprise, and apologized for what happened. So, oh yes, and again, Mike, all those videos are on my Vimeo account. Let me see if I put that link up, because they don't give me trouble about the music, and I pay for my account. Let's see. Vimeo. Here we go. And it's slow here at work. Showcases. Come on. And I think I should be able to grab a link here. View, settings, embed. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a link to the showcases, and it's right there. Big picture of me. There's 46 videos. I uploaded them 2 years ago, and unlike YouTube, I was given no trouble. So now I got to find where you guys are again. There we are. And there you go. Well, there, you love those videos. There they all are. They're not altered. They're intact. I'm about 80 pounds heavier. My dog is 10 years younger, and they're there. Those were amazing times. And, you know, if Doug Drexler was a huge help with, because fighting my wife's cancer drained me of money. And he came over and says, why is this? All the masters were done for it. They're all in gray, and I have all propped up so you can see the Enterprise sitting here. He goes, you got to finish. I said, I'm just out of money right now. And he wrote me a check for $1,500. He said, here, get what you need to do. And I did. So How is Rosie? Rosie's fine. Usually when dogs get to be, it's her 11th birthday today. Usually when they get to be that age, they start to slow down. She has not. It's amazing. Mary seems to think that when her time comes, she'll just drop, uh, jumping at a ball, because every morning we go out, we throw a ball against the wall. The ball bounces up high. She jumps as high as my head still. When we go out for a walk, she jumps up on me and plays. Of course, we have Nova now, and she's 3 years old, and that dog, that wonderful dog, has really helped Rosie keep her youth. So I'm very, very, very grateful to the universe, um, as a blanket description of God, God, Buddha, universe, whatever. Thank you so much. Yeah, Doug is cool. I hadn't heard from Doug for a while. He checked in the other day. He's doing fine. I hear from Kuda once in a while too. Kuda, Mike Kuda designed our logo for my local. I'm drawing a blank, for a local rocketry organization section 855, where we launch rockets for kids and for older kids like ourselves too. He designed our logo for our group, and it was really cool of him to do that. So I sent him a Baylock. Of course, you've all seen the Baylock mask, correct? That's true, Steve. Oh, happy news. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Love the Baylock. Well, you should know you have one. They don't allow you to post pictures in the chat, do they? Yeah, he's done pretty well. But I sent one to Kuda, and he loved it as a thank you for what he did. I'm just looking at stuff down the side. I just this second got a text. Um, the problem with radio controlled submarines is that they do not work with 2.4 gigahertz radios, at least not very well. I tried it. I thought it was going to work. It did not work well at all. So you need to have old FM radios or AM radios. They don't make them anymore. So you got to find old ones. And the problem is that people have figured out, some have, that if you want one of those radios, it's because you're going to use it on a radio controlled submarine. That's the only thing they can be used for anymore. You don't want to use them for RC cars. You don't want to use them for planes. It's a big risk because of the radio interference that you can get. But they work with submarines because the AM signal and the FM signal penetrate the water quite well. So there are people trying to sell me radios for $200 and $300. I'm not paying that for 20-year-old technology just because we're using it for submarines. And I held out, I kept searching, and then finally one of the submariners out there said, "Oh, Steve, I've got an extra radio. Just send me your address, pay for the shipping, and it's yours." And that's what just came through. So that means now I have a radio for all 4 of my submarines, which makes me happy. So Warren, well, yeah. Well, the thing about it is that if you have multiple views, straight on angles, side, top, bow, stern, and so on, and then even more helpful is if you have the bulkheads, these in the plans. If you have those, you have everything. And so just like building a model airplane, you have a keel shape that has the profile from the side of the object, and you place the formers along it in the correct locations, and you either carb foam or you sheet styrene or whatever you do, and you get this 3D without a 3D printer. And I get asked all the time, have you ever considered 3D printing your submarine or your car or whatever? And I always have to explain kindly that I really like handcrafting. I have the ability to do it. I love doing it because it's art and engineering kind of mixed together. And so the few things I've had 3D printed for me, they were great, but I spent so much time trying to sand down those damn terraces and grooves, shingles, that in the time it took me to do that, I could have stuck this on a lathe, turned it, smoothed it down, coated it, and had it. And I have beaten 3D printers several times. It took them longer to 3D print stuff, just putting it into CAD and then getting it to be printed. You know how slow the printers are. I had the whole thing done. This was 3D printed for me. Not this part here, but the fins and by my friend Mark Helmick, who lives locally, and he printed these parts for me: fins, boat tail, and the nose cone for this very good flying V2 rocket, one of my favorite rockets. It's just great. And it did save me some time because I was working on other stuff, but I had to do a lot of sanding. And then after I did all the sanding and everything to get the panel lines in it, you can see them. I didn't have panel lines. If there had been panel lines, I told them don't do the panel lines because I'll sand them off. So what I did is I scribed them in and then put a lot of primer over it, and that worked. So I really love making stuff by hand, and like this slot car. I mean, it's just, it's just been so much fun to make this. And come on, focus. It doesn't want to focus, but it's very symmetrical, very nice, and it's all done by hand. And there's a lot of satisfaction in it. Captain Bob, I just got back from the lake the other day, and we ran the Nautilus. If you go to my website, you can see a video. In fact, I can just go directly to the videos and put that video up as long as I'm in the kitchen. So, and there we are, copy link, copy to clipboard, and bang. If you watch that, you can see the Nautilus underwater, and I mean underwater, with all our lights glowing, and the Type 23 on the surface. I couldn't get it to dive because of the 2.4 gigahertz, but it ran really well on the surface. And we have a sub run, which is about a 2-hour drive from where we live and 2 hours back again, but it's a beautiful lake. And Proteus puts it on LA Subron, which I'm a member of. And we have a really good time there, but the lake is just gorgeous. I've never been to a lake that clear and nice where you can see your boats. So if they sink and they don't come back up, you could go out there and get them. Yeah, well, Steve, there you go. Anthony, you're funny. Okay. So anyway, Captain Bob, that's watch that video. Again, you guys, if you follow my website, which is also a blog, it's a website, it's full menu at the top, it's got a store on it, items to a whole section of pictures from my career, which I keep adding pictures to. I think all the build models, all the build pictures of the Enterprise are in a gallery on my Facebook page. So those are there, and eventually I'll put them there. But every day in the blog portion of it, if you follow it, you will see what we're working on every day here. And links to videos of work here, and pictures, and just all kinds of stuff. So it's the best way to keep up. Yes, I have Patreon as well. Um, and we have Buy Me a Coffee. So I spent a lot of time making videos and keeping up all the stuff, and plus running the studio and doing the projects that put items in the stores that slowly sell and trickle money into the studio. And that's why we were able to, between that, Patreon, and other, and selling stuff in the stores, we've been here 10 years. So we're hoping for another 10. We'll see. But currently we're well, I have the build, which I don't normally get builds because I normally don't take them anymore. But the build model I'm doing for a gentleman who was there for me while Jelly was fighting her cancer, and I built a couple of models for him. And he checked with me recently. He said, "Oh, would you build this for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I will." So, being that it's a plastic kit, especially and Star Wars models, they're hard to build bad. They're so beat up and everything in the first place, and then they don't have nav lights. They don't have boards in them, not unless you want to make the engines flicker, and you didn't want that. So it's a pretty straight shot of several bright white LEDs hooked to fiber optics, and then the blue. I haven't checked with him if he wants blue or orange lights in the main engines, but and then there's the bay, which is really cool to light up. You have a little spotlights in it. And so that model is somewhat easier to build, and also easier to ship. Because the last model I sent to him was that refit, the smoothie as they called it, and the post office, despite it being packed, professionally broke it up, because you've got this big saucer section, so this little neck, two pylons of these big nacelles sitting on it. It's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah, I know it does seem that way. Yes, and if you had audio, how to pronounce it. No, I really haven't. I mean, you're talking about the one that the classic picture of Nimoy is Spock holding it. I can tell you right now, if I scratch build anything in the future, it's going to be smaller stuff, because the big stuff just kills me. Um, Especially if it's going to be molded, and I have to do molds and big heavy casting and that kind of stuff. I think we've kind of seen the end of that. This is more my speed. But that's only 45 inches long, so it's still, to me, that's a manageable model. So I guess 33 inches is too. But what a fine death. Hello, Elliot. You got here just in time. Okay, Anthony, so that is the model you're referring to. I did think of that a long time ago. That model had the early deflector dish on it, and the nacelle end caps were just solid red with the little antennas sticking off them, or whatever they're called. Isn't that correct? That's oh, great. No, I haven't done the moon bus. I need to get the re-release of the moon bus. I need to get the Orion, the larger Orion model up the road here. And then, of course, the one that goes to the moon, the big ball. I'm forgetting the name of it. But I'm doing pretty good at 2001 stuff so far. I mean, I have that super expensive Gary Lockwood figure, and the smaller one, and I've got Moonwatcher, of course, and I've got the Star Child. I also have this which I finally built that Bob Burns gave me years ago, and it sat in a box for 20 years or more. And it's the old lunar models model, which I love. I'm glad, the fact that Bob gave it to me. I have a few models of Bob's that he gave me. I need to put together one day. So, but I'm doing well. But I don't have the EVA pod. I really need to get one of those. Oh, a Telosian mask. Well, Lou, that's a possibility. I could take a vote on that one because I have found the Aries 1B. Thank you, or the Aries 1, exactly. I have done some masks I thought would sell and they didn't. Sell a few, and then sometimes there's slow burns where you think it's not going to sell. And like the Werewolf of London mask, I sold one or two in its early career, and then more recently it's become my number one selling mask. So I kind of have to make sure, because I wouldn't mind the Telosian either, because that's one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, it is a fantastic kit. Of course, they're out of production now, and I'm sure they're $300, right? I kept telling myself, you better get one, you better get one. They'll discontinue it, and then every blood money thirsty guy would be on eBay with them for twice the money. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we've got more questions to ask. Now would be the time, or something you want me to bring over to the screen real quick to show you. I can do that. Yes, the 22-inch Eagles, they're still available. Oh, you do, huh, Lou? Okay, we can do that. I don't have the Telosian though right now. I've got Outer Limits masks and Salt. I think you got a Salt Vampire too, didn't you? I can't remember if you got one or not. Well, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Lou. Yep. You got a salt sucker too, huh? Well, you think on it. Look through my store, see what I have. Is there anything you want to trade? And if not, we'll wait until I do something you do want, because I need to get that pod. I just dumb not to have it. So, and the ape. Okay. All right. I was really did a stupid thing. Being friends with Gary Lockwood, I assumed he'd be around for a while. And bye, Mary. I'm about to sign off. And then his to Delaware, and she didn't want him being around Hollywood and all that stuff, and moved him out there. And we still talk on the phone, but he used to come over all the time, and he's a great guy, and we had a lot of fun dinners, a lot of fun. He'd come over here and terrify the interns, and great guy. I never got him to sign anything, not my chair, which he broke. None of the 2001 stuff. So I feel really stupid about that. But my bad. So I suppose I could send him something to the mail, but I'm not going to do that. And I did that a lot in my career. When I worked with stars, I never asked him for autographs. Chuck Yeager sent me one because we met in a parking lot, and I used to talk to him in email and on the internet and stuff, and he sent me one. I didn't ask for it; he just sent me one. Adam Nimoy gave me his father's signature on a photograph that he had. So I don't have many. So, this is it. It's coming up on 4 o'clock. I want to thank everybody for showing up. And it was a good first run. And I probably do this twice a month, if that works for you guys. You are the same way with autographs. Great. And be thinking about it and what questions you might want to ask. And of course, I'll have things to show you this time. And if I get it on the phone or my pad, we can walk you through the studio and show you projects and show you things from the past and props I have and all that kind of stuff. I think will be a lot of fun. And if you feel so inclined, Mary will want me to do this, and I guess this is right. You can buy me a coffee to help with the studio. So thanks, guys, for showing up today, and fun. I enjoyed it a great deal, and I appreciate all of you so much because you're the reason. You're one of the many reasons I keep doing this work. I really appreciate it. Love you a whole bunch, and we'll see you next week or the week after. I'll let you know.